What's up, everyone? So James and I are going to be talking about the Rising fights that happened the other night. We're going to discuss what we thought. So pretty interesting. Check it out.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Yamatodamashii podcast. My name is James, joined, of course, by Enson. Enson, how was New Year's?
Good, man. We're relaxing. Tsuyoshi was hurt, so we didn't need to go to room meetings, weigh-ins. We didn't go to the event. They offered me tickets to go watch the event, but I opted to just order it on pay-per-view here at home. And the event was like from 1 in the afternoon to 11 at night.
Yeah, it was long.
So that's like 10 hours in the arena. And I was like, I think I'd rather, come stay home and watch it, order it, pay 50. I think it was like $60 for the pay-per-view.
Wow.
And it was worth it. They also had like an hour and a half intermission that you would have to sit in the arena for.
Yeah.
So it was kind of good to just be home and, enjoy the fights at home.
Yeah. No, I watched on the Live Now broadcast, and like you say, it's about 8-9 hours.
How was the stream? I heard people had problems. Some people had problems with it freezing up and stuff.
Yeah, it does do that. Like, you have to refresh it sometimes, but luckily when it happened probably about 5 or 6 times, but as soon as you hit refresh, it would take you back in. But it wasn't too bad. I think they've had times where it's been worse, but it was watchable. And but yeah, I had to get up at like 6 a.m. I think. Maybe I had to. The good thing is you can rewind it, so I kind of missed a few people's entrances here and there, but I managed to watch all the key fights, and then I was like live. And then like by 2 in the afternoon it finished. Wiped out most of the day.
Unreal how long it was, huh?
Yeah. Good card though. Good card. We'll get into it. We'll get into some of the highlights from it and stuff. And there's quite a lot of news coming out of it as well. Perhaps some that may affect you and Tsuyoshi. So but yeah, let's well, why don't we start off with the Bantamweight Grand Prix? I'm really keen to know your impressions of it. Did you? And I think the first place I wanted to check was, did you have a prediction? Was there any particular fighter that you thought might win it when they announced the participants?
Yeah, I thought from the very beginning, I thought Inoue was going to win the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought he was pretty much a level above everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, up until the second round of his semifinal fight, he was a level above everybody.
Yeah, got some big knockouts.
And I think the styles just didn't work for him. I think Kubo's style was the pressure, man. It was just too crazy for him. So, yeah, I thought it was going to be Kai and Inoue in the finals.
Mm-hmm. I thought the same actually, because I kind of thought that Takizawa would give Asakura a bit of like a harder fight, maybe land a few more punches. And I thought Inoue would beat Kubo. And then you get, as you say, that was the final. And I think quite a lot of people thought that they were the sort of the two best. So Kubo, man, pulled it out, shocked a lot of people.
Amazing, yeah,
grinder, man. Yeah, it's he was on like a season of The Ultimate Fighter. And he never sort of officially fought in the UFC, right? But he's kind of just been one of those guys that's just sort of been in the trenches, man, just having wars and wars. And then it's quite cool to see it actually sort of finally pay off and get, big name.
I think the closest thing he got to the UFC was the TUF show when they had the TUF show with champions.
Yeah.
I guess he did. He did well. He did okay, but he didn't do good enough to actually get a contract in the UFC.
Yeah, I think he lost to Tim Elliott, I think. And Tim Elliott's like, pretty high level for the flyweight division. So, but I remember that being quite a cool series. It was one of the few ones I watched because it was kind of like all the different champions and stuff like that. So
yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
But yeah, just overall thought on some of the matchups was the final, I suppose, obviously was Kai versus Kubo. And I was kind of curious to get your take on this, right? Because you fought in tournaments before, and they seemed like they had quite a long break because of how long the show was. And I was wondering, does that play to a fighter's benefit that there's a longer break, or does it almost play to a detriment because they've got to sort of warm up and then like relax and then warm up again, sort of thing?
Yeah, I would think. I guess it depends the type of fight you have.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a real hard, large, drawn out fight, it's probably better to have a longer rest.
Yeah.
But if it's because of fatigue, I think you need to recover a little bit from the fatigue. But if it's like Kai's fight wasn't, it was a 3 round fight, but there wasn't much of a, you know, like that type that Kubo had where it was like a grappling
Mm-hmm.
exchange. So I think it would have benefited Kai better to have the fight a little sooner.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Kubo really needed that rest because man, his fight was a grind, man. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's a different type of tiredness and fatigue you get from the hands-on grappling rather than just striking tiredness. The striking one you can recover faster, but the ones that are using muscle and the grappling like that those ones are usually a lot harder to recover.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting to see what they do now because obviously the bantamweight champion was Kyoji. Kyoji did the kind of like co-signing with Bellator. He just lost to Sergio Pettis after a fight he was dominating, and then he just got caught with a knockout. And I think Scott Coker, the promoter, was talking about, oh, Kyoji's going to be in the upcoming flyweight tournament that they're looking at doing. So I'm kind of interested whether like, do you think they maybe rematch Kaya Sakura and Oki Kubo, but do it for like an interim championship or a championship?
Yeah, I think that's a very likely thing.
Yeah, I
I
hope
think
so.
they'll have another rematch. That's not a weird thing to have because I think that's probably the most interesting fight
Yeah, they're 1-1 as
because
well.
Kai because that tournament pretty much cleared out all of the people in that weight class.
Yeah, yeah, it was there was it definitely lots of people had a few standout performances, right? And big knockouts and kind of shifted things about a
Well,
bit. So
Kai also expresses a lot of interest in fighting foreigners.
yeah, yeah, both
So
the
of course,
Ascro
that's all
brothers.
going to depend on the borders. Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who they bring in if they can, like what happens. But I think that Ryzen generally had quite a good year for sort of building up domestic talent, right? So,
yeah.
mhm.
So
so and we obviously talked about Kai Asakura and where he goes next. What about his brother Mikuru? Had a pretty impressive performance, I thought, against Saito.
yeah, I mean Mikuru, it was pretty cool because it showed that he made a lot of improvements.
Hmm.
Um, in the post-fight interview, Saito actually said that he felt a lot more physical strength from Ikuda. Was pretty the strength difference was really recognizable. And whenever he had he did like he grappled with him, he felt the strength of Kai. I
Hmm.
mean not Kai, sorry. He felt the strength of Mikuda. So um you know Mikuda has he's even working on that ankle pick takedown. He did that really well in the fight,
Mm.
so I mean, that kid's a natural, man. He picks things up super fast, and every fight he makes, he's making changes and he's getting better. So it was really impressive. I thought I had Saito winning the fight, but man, it's just when the fight was going on, after he dropped Saito in the second round, I think Saito just didn't recover either
Mm.
physically or mentally. So
Hmm.
after that, Saito's game to stand toe to toe with him, and that's the only chance he had in the last round because he was down both rounds. He had to win the last round with a knockout, and he just wouldn't engage.
Mm.
So I'm thinking that the punches that he got caught with had just too much damage that he couldn't recover from it. So shit, man, Mikuda did really well. I mean, because Saito's no slouch, man. He's a ex Shuto champ, and he's all around. He's good all over. He's good striking. He's good on the ground. He's good. in his heart. He's a strong heart,
Tough fighter.
a lot of grit, a lot of aggression. Yeah, so man, you know, as much as every fight I see Mikuta fight, I'm like, okay, that guy's a ex gangster fighter. Okay, he got lucky. Okay, he's got good athletic ability. He just has good timing. Okay, and then all of a sudden it's like kind of like, wow, this guy's a real fighter.
Yeah.
He beat Saito. Um, he's a legit fighter. I mean, it will be interesting to see the borders open and have more fighters come in from different areas. You know, like Russia, from
Mm.
America, and you know that'd be, I think, the biggest test for you know, the Asakura brothers.
Well, it's interesting as well what they do with the belt as well, right? Because you got, was it Ushiku who got the win over Saito with the cut? Because Saito had the cut, and then Ushiku got the belt. And then you've also got Kleber as well, who beat Mikudu. That, so there's kind of, I'd be interested to know where they're gonna go like next, whether what they do about the championship, whether they give Mikudu the championship fight straight away, or there's some fights there though. I think there's, even if they can't get in the international fighters, I still think there's a couple of fights that they can make for the top of the division at
Yeah,
least.
there are some guys there, like you said, those, you know, that are interesting fights. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens next. But speaking of, I mentioned Kleber there. His teammate Souza got a nice submission win over Yachi. Yachi's always quite an exciting fighter, right? And sort of managed to work his way back up into this fight. What did you think of that fight?
Yeah, I guess Souza just showed that he's solid all around. His striking did well. His takedowns, his of course, you know, we all know his ground is sick.
Phenomenal.
So you
Yeah.
know, I mean, Yachi came in with a better game plan. Worked with Aoki a lot. So it
Mm-hmm.
really seemed like you know, Aoki was going to do something to help Yachi, but damn, Souza just pretty much went through him, man.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was 100% domination for Souza, man. I thought Yachi was gonna do a lot better. Had a little bit of, you know, Yachi's like a confidence monster,
Yeah.
and when he's on a high, he's really unstoppable. But you know, he's been, you know, after, because when he first started fighting in Rising, he beat some big names. He beat Gomi, you know, he beat a lot of big
Mm.
names, and then he was on that high until he fought Souza, and Souza kind of smashed his confidence, and
Mm.
then he couldn't win. So I thought he was going to actually do a better performance, or actually have something, you know, good to, you know, actually have a chance with Souza, because he was on a like a 4 win streak.
Yeah. I think it was about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was. I felt that, you know, Yachi had the confidence behind him, and I felt that, oh, we're going to see something interesting. And you know, he did. He actually got out. You know, it almost, you almost want to say Yachi did really well. When
Mm-hmm.
you really look at it, all he did was avoid submissions.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to get out of stuff. So if he did well defensively, he did well to defend and stay out of being submitted. But he didn't really create any type of aggression or any competitiveness that, oh, he might beat Souza. It was like
Yeah.
more like, oh shit, Souza couldn't finish him. Oh, Souza couldn't finish him. You know?
Oh, and then he did. Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
so I
and
know what
then
you mean. Yeah.
he
It's,
finally got him. Yeah,
yeah. I don't know.
I'm
So
interested to
the,
see if they're gonna be able to open the borders. I'm interested to see who they're gonna bring in. Who is that weight class?
it's what, lightweight. So the one that was interesting. I don't know if you watched. Did you watch the Japanese pay per view or the international one?
I
Japanese pay per view,
watched
right?
Japanese one, I think.
So on the international one, on the commentary, they had what's his name, Johnny Case. So the guy
Ah,
who, yeah, who was the guy that beat Souza before, right? And I think he's obviously
yeah,
angling.
yeah.
Because that was kind of a weird fight the way it stopped. But that, so he was obviously angling for that fight quite a bit. I think he's quite interested to do it, but obviously, again, depends on COVID and all that fun stuff. So see what happens there. But yeah, Souza is, he feels like a bit of a pride throwback a little bit. Like, I don't know, Brazilians in Japan doing well and submitting guys in like the first round. It kind of, it reminds me of like Nogueira brothers and that sort of stuff. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Kind of
You know, the real interesting thing about Souza is, when he was fighting like a few years back, he always would talk about how he loves Japan and how Japan is his home.
Mm.
And the last time he had a title fight, he chose to stand under the Japanese anthem
Yeah, I saw
instead of
that.
the Brazilian one. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's really taken to Japan as his home, and he considers Japan his home. He even when he won the belt, he was like, he told Sakakibara that he's gonna bring the rising belt back to Japan. And it's like, oh, but you're Brazilian, but it's like, oh, it's that how much he feels that Japan is his
Yeah.
home. So pretty cool, man. I mean, so it's a
Yeah.
nice little story. Yeah, it's a little
Yeah. It
story. It's
must be
interesting.
relatable for you, right? As well, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
the same way as him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. No, I'm excited to see where what the matchup next is, Souza. I think he's just like every time
Yeah.
he fights, it's always I'm really curious. His ground game is just something else. But moving on to legendary lightweights, Takanori Gomi. Man, what did you think about Gomi fighting Tenshin? And that was like a last minute announcement, and obviously quite big of a weight discrepancy. But what did you think about the 2 round fight?
I thought I was afraid of seeing that fight because I didn't know which Gomi was going to come out because Gomi sometimes will be gun shy
Hmm.
and he'll just wait or won't aggress, and he has that huge hooks that he throws that if he catches anybody with them, even guys his size, he'll knock them out. I mean, when he knocked out Melvin Gillard, Melvin's a solid straight up hardcore fighter,
Hmm.
and he knocked him out super bad. So I felt that if Gomi could come in with confidence and let his hands fly, he was going to do well. And I got a little bit scared because on the press conference he was really hesitant to speak very confidently, saying he would compliment Tenshin, saying that, oh yeah, he's the best in this division, and I'm gonna he used words like I'm gonna take on this challenge,
Hmm.
like almost like leaving that little opening that he's not ready, he's not, don't expect me to win, but I'm gonna try my best, kind of thing. So when I saw it, I was like, oh shit, we're gonna get probably the Gomi that's not confident. But man, I after watching the fight, Gomi threw some
Yeah.
hard shots. I thought he won the second round.
Yeah, it was one of those fights where it was because it was so short. I wasn't really paying so much attention to how I was scoring it. I was just kind of enjoying it, right? Just because it was like, whoa, this is a bit of an exhibition, and you're kind of on your edge, like, oh, he's gonna get knocked out, but he didn't, man. He held his own. I mean, obviously, like I said, with the weight discrepancy, I think he managed to sort of take quite a lot of Tension's punches, but he was landing quite a lot on Tension, right? Which is
Yeah, I mean, if you had to score the fight, I think a draw wouldn't be weird
yeah, yeah.
if it was a fight that was going to be scored. Yeah, so I think Gomi did really well.
Yeah, it's kind of I don't know, like the fact that Tension is sort of moving into boxing. It wasn't like the best showcase for him. I didn't think. I thought kind of like the idea would be that he'd go in and like knock him out, sort of thing, and everyone would be like, "Oh, we can't wait for Tension to box." But it was kind of like, "Whoa, careful, son, don't get knocked out." Like, because
Yeah,
Gomi was
exactly. Yeah,
Gomi was throwing some bombs to say the least. So, but yeah, that was cool. That was quite nice to see, right? Like he's coming out still in
yeah.
his 40s, being able to
I'm glad
perform.
Gomi did well. Good for his
Yeah,
name.
yeah, definitely, definitely, and quite a nice. He did a nice little tribute, right, to the wrestling coach that it
Yeah,
passed
to
away. So
Kikuchi-san. Yeah, yeah. So that
yeah,
was nice. Yeah,
yeah. So considering the audience as well, right, the amount of people watching the tension fight, it's quite nice to get some eyeballs on something.
yeah,
It's a shame that that happened. So yeah, credit to Gomi. I wonder if Gomi continues to fight, and I might as well, while we're talking about tension, might as well get your thoughts on tension versus Takeru next year in July. Should be a big event, right?
yeah. I personally I think from the beginning I always thought that Takeru would probably be able to beat him because I always watched all the K1 fights, and
Mhm.
he can take a punch, he hits hard, and he has stamina like a Duracell battery. He never hits hard. And I just thought that the pressure that Takeru would give is just going to be too much for Tension, but it's funny because I talk to a lot of guys that are uh, much more versed than me in the striking, and
Hmm.
ask them what they think, and hands down, every single guy tells me that Tenshin by far is technically better than Takeru, and they all
Really?
said Tenshin is not is just Takeru stands no chance. I mean, I don't know. They
Yeah.
see. I'm thinking that maybe they see something that I don't, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I think that Tenshin is a ballsy fighter and is willing to throw down. And
Hmm.
if he does throw down, I think that favors Takeru. Tenshin has that little pride, that little ego that he'll throw down in the pocket. Even with Gomi, he was actually willing to stand in the pocket with Gomi sometimes.
Yeah.
So I can see Tenshin doing that, and I think that'll favor Takeru. So
Yeah.
uh, it's almost like Inoue and Ogi Kubo.
Hmm.
I think the style that Ogi Kubo had, that pressure, that constant pressure, that takedown, that wrestling that Ogi Kubo did, I think that took Inoue out of his game. And I think Takeru will be able to do that. I'm not sure. He says it's one of those things that tension is just always surprises everyone. As far as personality, they're both good kids, but I tend to favor Takeru more in the as far as who I like better, because he's one of the few fighters I hear today saying that he's gonna risk his life in the ring. He's ready to die in the ring. He was ready to
Hmm.
die in the last fight he fought. He uses those words that nowadays in mixed martial arts today, it's kind of criticized
Yeah.
that if you say you're ready to die in the ring, you kind of get criticized for it, which was my motto, the whole time
Hmm.
for my career. So to hear someone like Takeru in such a big spotlight, big
Mm.
podium that he has, to bring that type of energy and that type of samurai spirit to the ring is super cool. So I really do want to see Takeru do well.
Hmm.
How about you?
Yeah. I mean, I I don't watch enough kickboxing, right? I haven't watched enough Takeru fights really to like feel like I can give it a good sort of analysis. But I've watched, the majority of the tension fights that have been on Rizin, and I don't know. So slowly, my confidence seems to be changing a little bit, just because of that performance against Gomi. I was kind of a bit like, whoa. I mean, like you said, he's ballsy, right? So he kind of like put himself out there, and he must have really had some confidence to feel like, I don't care. I'm just gonna throw whatever I can. Maybe he thought because it was 2 rounds, right? Just absorb it and go. But and he, the fact he wants to do another fight before that fight as well. He wants to fight for Rise one more time. Um, so I don't know. Let's talk closer to the fight, and then I'll make a decision, right?
You know what you got to do is you got to go on YouTube and you got to Google all the K1 Takeru fights.
Yeah, I need to go back
I
and
think
watch some
I
of
think
the.
me and Sarah have seen every single one of his fights, and
Wow.
I mean it impresses me every single time. That kid is tough as shit.
Yeah, yeah. No, I need to check out some more K1. I've,
Homework.
yeah, man. I watch a lot of the older K1s, so which should be good for potential future guests. So
Yeah. Hint,
um,
hint.
hint, hint. Wicked. So, moving on from that fight, I got to ask you, right? Because, and I'll be interested to see how much you can say on the podcast. But one of the things they announced was someone making their debut for upcoming Rising events, which was Tsuyoshi's brother, Takagenji. Takagenji? I hope you're saying that right. And I saw a few people on Twitter that was sort of asking, like, "Oh, are they going to be training together?" So we'll put it out there. Is that something that will be happening, or potentially not?
No, I think Tsuyoshi and his brother are on two different paths right now. As far as Tsuyoshi started up about a year and a half ago. The brother's just starting up now. The brother has his own connections. So of course, I think if Tsuyoshi invited the brother to come with us, we'd probably be able to work with him.
Hmm.
And I think it would have been good because then Tsuyoshi has someone big to work with.
Hmm.
But I understand Tsuyoshi wasn't too interested in something like that. He didn't feel like the brother would mix well with him. And I think it's the whole thing that in this whole Suma career, it was about they're actually twins, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was about the twins in sumo, the twins this, the twins
Mm-hmm.
that, and I guess that can get a little old. And now he's finally established himself as not with as the twins.
Mm-hmm.
The brother wasn't interested in fighting, but all of a sudden the brother has this interest in fighting, and I think Tsuyoshi sees it like coming back again. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's unfortunate because if Tsuyoshi doesn't want that, it's something that I think is unavoidable.
Mm-hmm.
He goes and speaks in the ring. I got like 3 different texts saying, "Are you going to be the one training him? Is he going to be training with Tsuyoshi?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's inevitable that whenever Tsuyoshi or the brother fights, it's going to be talked about each other. It's like, oh, Tsuyoshi brother just fought.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Tsuyoshi fights that. If they're going to be fighting in the same event, it's going to be the talk of, oh, the two twins are going to be, it's inevitable. So I can understand Yoshi's point. I mean, the brother has his own connection, so it's good. He's been
Mm-hmm.
training already, and from what I hear from the grapevine, he's super athletic. I mean, like Tsuyoshi picks
Mm-hmm.
stuff up really fast, and I hear the
Yeah.
brothers just like that too. So the one interesting thing that I found was that there's some people that I talked to that was following the brothers in the sumo ring, and they told me that the brother is, they call Yanchan. Yanchan is like a bad boy.
Okay.
So he's the type of guy that would go out and party at the hostess clubs, spend all his money, and Shoshi would be the one that would be more moderate with his money. The brother would like you know a lot of problems as far as the law when they were younger. So the brother has this bad boy image, and he has almost like that he don't give a fuck attitude. And I find that in fighting, that type of personality is really good. So with the athletic ability that Shoshi has, the brothers has that bad boy attitude. It's going to be interesting, man. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
from the he worked with one of the jiu-jitsu guys that I know, and the guy actually contacted me saying that, oh, he's going to be working with Shoshi's brother. I said, oh, right on. Talked to him a couple of weeks later after he worked there. I said, how was it? He goes, that guy is super good. He picks up shit fast. I was like, whoa, just like
Well.
Tsuyoshi.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting, man. The
Yeah.
fact that they kind of don't get along, I
Mm-hmm.
don't. I mean, everyone's going to entertain that. Are they going to ever fight?
I bet Saki
I
Kabara
don't think
is.
they. I don't think they'll ever fight, but I don't
No.
think that it's 100% out of the question. I
Oh.
think if the money
Ooh.
was right and the push was right with Sakakibara, and the brother did do well, and they both did well. I mean, I can see Sakakibara have a trick up his sleeve and run a heavyweight tournament and put them on the opposite side of the draw, hoping that they
Ooh.
both win. I
That.
mean, if they both win and they end up in the finals and there's big, huge prize money, I think they'll both want to fight each other.
That's crazy.
I mean, I would be against it because
Yeah.
it's just not right, And the mom, I can see the poor mom, the mom's a sweet lady, but
Oh.
I can see the pain that she would have because she doesn't like the fact that they don't get along that well.
Mm. No, that's
So
crazy.
it's interesting. I honestly, I think it's exciting. I think to
Yeah.
see the brothers, saw him in the ring making a little um, speech there. He's saying almost the same stuff as Yoshi, that he wants to become one of the top heavyweights around.
Mm-hmm.
And then the real funny thing about it is I don't know. I asked Yoshi what that meant, but Yoshi also didn't know. But at the end, he said, "Oh, there's going to be the heavyweight champ between um, the two heavyweight guys, Shibisai and Shrek." And he says, "I'm rooting for Shibisai." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"What?
Right.
What do you get out of that? Because that's the guy who beat Yoshi. So is
I
that a
heard
little
that.
little stab saying that I'm rooting for the guy to beat you, Yoshi, or does he want to maybe make that little storyline where Shibisai wins and then he fights the guy who beat up his brother?
Yeah.
So I
That.
don't know. That was weird when he said that. I was like, oh, that's weird. Are they friends?
Yeah, that's super interesting. But no, I know.
Yeah.
I can see where he's coming from, right? Like most people probably don't know, but I am a twin as well, unidentical, but my twin brother Ben. But we've always
Oh, I
kind of,
didn't know that.
yeah, so we've always kind of wanted to do our own things as well, right? You know, you kind of, when you're a twin, everyone kind of compares you to, and especially if you're identical, right? So I kind of
Yeah,
could see
yeah.
why Tsuyoshi want to like carve out his own path, do his own thing. So I kind of get that. But yeah, that's it's gonna be an interesting year for you and Tsuyoshi, and see how things play out. But yeah, so I mean, you brought up Shrek Sakine and Shibasai. What was your thoughts on the big heavyweight clash?
Um, I thought Shibisa was gonna just dominate, which he looked like he did in the beginning.
Hmm.
But I think Shrek's toughness and his aggression and his persistence tired out Shibisai. And the funny thing with Shibisai is after the fight with Tsuyoshi, he told some of his other trainers that he was on the verge of quitting during Tsuyoshi fight. So I'm thinking I couldn't really see where he was pushed hard in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking was wow, he probably doesn't have a strong heart as far as being able to push through hard times.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw that Shrek was hanging in there and sticking around and being just gritting it out, I actually had that thought in my head, like, holy shit, I wonder if Shrek's gonna actually be able to break Shibisai. And I think that's actually what happened because you saw the end of the fight, yeah. So you saw those little punches Shrek was throwing. I mean, I think Sarah could have been under there and take those punches.
Yeah.
And I think it was just not necessarily damaging. It was more um the action
Mm-hmm.
to show the referee that Shibisai was done because Shibisai wasn't moving, wasn't trying to turtle, wasn't he pretty much kind of I felt like Shibisai wanted a way out and just
Mm.
took those shots in the face. So I was surprised, So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of exciting for us to be in Tsusuyoshi's corner because Shibisai does not want to fight Tsuyoshi again. He's been offered it twice and turned it down twice.
Wow.
So fighting Shibisai is probably out for the rest of Tsusuyoshi's career. So the only way he could probably get that revenge is possibly beat the guy that beat Shibisai.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a real plus to what happened. But the minus is Shibisai pretty much beat Tsuyoshi standing and then took him on the ground and made him quit, broke Tsuyoshi. So and then you got Shrek that obviously isn't the most athletic person. He's very slow, he's powerful, but he doesn't have very technical striking. His ground game is suspect. He's a tough kid, but he doesn't look impressive at all. But for him to have dominated Shibisai like he did is kind of like, oh shit, how good is
Mm.
Shibisai now? But Tsuyoshi just got, broken by
Yeah.
Shibisai. Oh, so how good is Tsuyoshi now? So that's the only minus to it. It doesn't make Tsuyoshi look good
Yeah.
by being broken by Shibisai, and Shibisai puts on a performance like that.
Yeah. There's definitely more questions than answers coming out of that fight, I think. And it's weird because obviously Tsuyoshi had his big win against Saint, and people were really impressed with the knockout. We did a podcast on that. Check it out if you guys didn't see it. But it's yeah, as you say, the fight, because of how that fight was a little bit strange. It wasn't the most athletic heavyweight bout. That it kind of suddenly, yeah, he's got lots of more questions again now, right? So hopefully Tsuyoshi heals up. Is there any sort of time frame for a potential return for him yet?
Yeah,
Or
we're looking at the doctors saying May,
to fight
but man,
again?
he's looking good already. He's walking pretty
Wow.
normal.
Mm.
He's on his way to recovery already. So I think May's a very a definite date that he could start fighting. But I think he does to get back in the swing. He wants to go back to Las Vegas and train at Extreme Couture's again.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to be like a month or so. He's going to go out there. So I'm looking at. We're probably expecting a return from Tsuyoshi and probably sometime in July or September.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah. In the meantime, we're probably going to have Sarah get in there before then. She's
Yeah.
getting on her game and tuning everything up again and hoping that maybe sometime in March or April.
Wow.
she can be ready to be in one of the rising cards.
Oh wow, Rizin as well. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Exciting times. Yeah, because Sarah fought in Shooter right before. So
Yeah.
yeah, cool. It's gonna be a big year for you. A couple more things on this card before I let you go. Uh, one of the most fantastic entrances I've seen was definitely Yuta Kubo, who unfortunately, well, fortunately, depending on whoever you favored, was submitted by YouTuber Shibata. Uh, should I ask for a technical breakdown on this fight, or?
You know what's crazy?
Mhm,
All the antics Shibata does, the way
mhm.
he screws around and makes the faces and all that.
Yeah,
He's actually really technical on the ground,
yeah,
and his punching isn't a slouch at all. He can hit.
yeah,
So he actually has the technique. It's just disguised because he fucks around so much.
yeah,
But
yeah,
he's the type of guy that still be serious while he's fucking around. That's part of his whole movement. So
yeah. It's, I don't know, that flying armbar is pretty impressive, and I thought that was fun. That was just super entertaining. And when they cut to his wife, Kubo's wife, where she just sat there in the costume and just looking all like
I
priceless, man.
thought I was mean because whenever I went to her, I was rolling laughing because it was so funny because she was like almost like takes the spotlight from him,
Mm.
and then she goes on and sings, and then she goes to the side and sits down, and then she wears that crazy outfit like she's in a
Yeah,
Las Vegas show, and she's sitting there watching that, and then when her husband got beat, her react that frozen like.
yeah.
I mean, that was just kind of entertaining for me. I just thought it was funny because
Ah, it's priceless.
it was it's like oh my god, I almost feel like you brought some bad luck on them. You should lay a
Yeah,
little lower, just a little normal. Let the spotlight be on him. It's,
yeah. Well, he's pretty accomplished in
uh,
K1, right? So,
yeah, he
um,
did really well in K1.
yeah, I don't know. They were just, it was, they felt so like you wouldn't see that anywhere else. Where there's like classic sort of rising bit of comedy
Yeah,
just to sort
yeah,
of throw it. That's what makes the fight card great, though. I think I like that mix of fights.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
keep you entertaining when you got that many fights, right? You need some different stuff. Um, uh, any thought? There was a couple of upsets on the card. Reina losing,
Yeah, what was an
Ayaka
interesting
losing.
fight? What was an interesting fight? The first fight of the night.
Oh,
There's a huge story behind that because the kid who won,
yeah, Kota.
he's really been training very short. His mother is a famous talent. She's an actress in Japan,
Right.
and the father's a top soccer player in Japan.
Yeah.
So they're both huge names. It's kind of sad for him because the reason why he got that fight is because of his parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
He even said in the interview that he feels a little bit bad because there's so many guys in the gym that kicks his ass,
Hmm.
and for him, because of his famous parents getting the offer, he kind of felt a need to turn it down.
Hmm.
The mother actually advised him to turn it down and fight amateur first, which is very good advice.
Yeah. I didn't
And
know
the
that.
father had this different idea that even if you're not ready to get that kind of opportunity, is not something you want to try and turn down. You might want to take that opportunity and try and run with it. The other side, the backstory behind his opponent. His opponent is only fought in amateur gangster events.
Oh,
He's a fitness model and a host.
oh, really? Yushi's the host.
Yeah, so
Wow.
he has a good part. He has a good act, and what we understand is Rising brought him to have that guy, what Muta, I think his name is Muta, King
Muta. Yeah.
Kazu's son, win.
Yeah.
So that guy was actually a feeder just to have him win, because the guy who won was really really like still an amateur fighter.
Mm.
And so we got in there. The guy, The other guy was, had that weird. He wore that weird speedos at the weigh-in. He did these weird poses, like real
Yeah,
weird, like hammy poses in
yeah,
the beginning. And I started going into that fight saying, I want to see this guy get his ass kicked.
right, right.
And as he was getting his ass kicked, I think it was a part of King Kazu's son's technique wasn't good enough to finish, but that host kid showed a lot of toughness and a lot of grit. I mean, as I started off the gong, as soon as the gong started, I wanted to see this guy get his ass kicked. As the fight was going, I started liking this kid. Like, oh, this kid is tough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He fought through. He actually got passed out. That
Yeah, yeah,
guillotine
that's
actually
right.
knocked him
Yeah,
out. He
yeah,
was
because
out. He was out.
and then they just sort of he just suddenly started fighting again after, like,
You know,
because
you
the
know
ref the ref missed
the
it.
referee, and yeah, the referee. What he did was he saw him go out,
Yeah,
and instead of making that decision and stopping the fight, he kind of went and asked him, "Are you okay?" And in the meantime, when he was asking, the guy woke up.
right.
So he actually was out, woke up, fought through that, and then got knocked out. So that guy got fast, knocked, choked out, and knocked out on the same night.
I mean,
So
you couldn't ask for a better showcase, right? Like he literally threw a soccer kick for the finish. Like I knew it kind of hit the chest and
yeah,
then hit the
yeah,
head,
yeah.
but like,
If two
but
guys
like,
hit in the face, you hit in the
yeah,
face
no,
and
right.
finish the fight that way, that would have been perfect. But
Yeah,
so that fight, I think, that kid that won, man, I love the values that his parents have about,
mm,
teaching him. They made him go into the dorms and live with the other fighters. He had
wow,
no special treatment. Yep, he had no special treatment. He didn't get anything special done for him
crazy.
because I think the father then wanted him to, you know, go through the grind.
Yeah, yeah,
So he has, and the kid has a really good attitude. I mean, when in his interviews, super good kid, and so he's going to be training and probably going to make another second fight in there. He's got a lot of work to do. His techniques are really he has a solid basics, but he doesn't have the techniques to finish to finish a move. The
hmm
technique has to be really solid. You can get into the position of a triangle, but without the proper techniques, you won't be able to finish it.
hmm
So he's got a lot of work, and I'm just hoping that that host guy comes back, man. He he was
Yushi.
entertaining. He was really
Yeah,
entertaining. I think you know Pride is not much about making sure that the levels have to be good. They're
yeah,
interested in more entertainment and showman and someone that's willing to fight, and that kid is ready to fight. I would
yeah.
like to see him fight again.
Yeah, yeah, he was entertaining, and as you said, he kept coming. So it was definitely interesting. So I
Yeah.
love Rizin, man. All the different characters. It's cool to see different
Yeah, yeah.
personalities, different skill levels. Um, any other thoughts? Any thoughts on some of the upsets? We saw Ayaka Hamasaki lose for the first time in a long time. We saw Reina lose as
Yeah, that
well.
girl was
So
good, man. That girl's ground game
yeah,
was solid.
yeah, yeah. There's I think she was like Deep Jewel's champion, right? Or so, or had fought at the
Yeah,
like
but
proper level.
Deep Jules is I consider Deep Jules like an amateur event.
Right.
The girls, King Reina fights there. There's some good fighters that fight there, but a
Yeah.
lot of the fighters are pretty much the younger girls trying to get experience. So Deep
Yeah.
Jules champion is kind of like an amateur champion. But
Could be. Yeah.
damn, that girl totally dominated the whole fight. I mean, she looked like the champion, and Hamazaki looked like the challenger.
Mm. Yeah. The
So that
ground
was
game.
impressive. I'm kind of excited to see what that girl's gonna do because now you open up a whole new group of girls to fight. Now
Yeah.
this girl can fight. No, Asakura Kana. She got
Mhm.
of course, got Miu there too. They got a lot of fighters that it's going to be exciting to see her fight now. So exciting, man. I like what I mean. I like Hamazaki's such a good person,
Mhm.
and she's a great champion. But I'm not going to be lying and say that it's not exciting that this girl had won. Now it opens up a whole new bag of exciting fights. So
Yeah. I'm guessing they got to do a rematch, right? Because Ayaka was the champion, but the belt wasn't on the line. So I'm guessing or you do like a tournament or something.
Normally, yeah, but Rising, yeah, like normally, Saito-san loses his belt from he's dominating the fight, gets cut and loses the belt. Normally, the rematch would be he'd be fighting the guy for the title.
Mm-hmm.
So he, instead of waiting for that, he took the Mikuta fight, lost that. So now all of a sudden, he's probably not going to get a title shot. So
Yeah,
you never know, man. In
true.
Japan, it's like, nope, you're not supposed to fight someone 15 kilos heavier than you, but it happens in Rising. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you never know, man. That's the
You never
exciting
know.
thing about Rising. And that's why maybe the
Mhm.
Sudario, the Tsuyoshi and his brother, that might be a possibility.
That's crazy. That
Anywhere
that would
else, no
be.
way. But Rising,
Yeah, yeah, right. That's so true. No other promotion would think about it, but uh,
yeah.
yeah, that'd be interesting. Any other thoughts before we wrap up this episode on Rising?
Nope. Just I hope the borders open. I hope we can get more foreign fighters in because the
Mhm.
Japanese fighters, are doing pretty good just within themselves.
Yeah.
They're gonna the Tenshin Takeru fight. They're gonna be renting out a big stadium. They want
Wow.
to try and get somewhere they can fit 50 to 80,000 people, and that's with the two Japanese fighters headlining it. So it's exciting to see how much they filled a 30,000 seat arena to this last New Year's event,
Hmm.
and that's basically all Japanese fighters. So they're doing so well. I mean, it's going to be real exciting to have the foreigners come in. It's gonna add a little bit more excitement in the crowd and the fans, and I think actually great have Japanese MMA gain a little bit more momentum. So kind of excited to see that.
Yeah, definitely. Be interesting to see how that card shapes out as well, right? Like what other fights are on the undercard for it. So
Yeah,
could be a
that'd be
mix.
interesting to see who they're gonna offer fights. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. Well, I want to thank everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe, and look out for the future for all the rest of the good stuff we've got coming.